What's up guys, Dylan here from Veteran Aquatics, and today we are going to talk about the basics of good fish keeping. Now, I've made a lot of videos in the past talking about keeping fish, talking about tanks and filters and substrate and cycling tanks, all that stuff, but I've never made an all-in-one, all-inclusive beginner's guide to fish tanks. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's going to be an all-inclusive guide to basic good fish keeping. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You guys are killing it. We are now on the road to 2,000. Help me get there. Hit that subscribe button, and as always, I will see you in a minute. Alright guys, before we go ahead and get started, I just want to say Happy Thanksgiving to everyone that celebrates it. There's not going to be a video out on Thanksgiving, so I'll say it now. And happy holidays in general. We are in the holiday season during an unprecedented year with all kinds of crazy wild stuff. In some regards it's been a horrible year, in some regards it's been a great year, and it's almost over regardless. So everybody enjoy the holidays, stay safe, and most importantly, enjoy this video. So first we have to talk about what all goes into a fish tank. Of course, there's the fish, there's the tank, there's the substrate, the filtration, if you're running a heater, the heat, the lighting, the decor, but there's also things like food, the pH of your water, whether or not it's basic or acidic, the hardness of your water, and quite a few other things, especially when we start talking about water chemistry and water parameters, but we're going to keep it simple and we'll stick with pH for now and temperature. So when you're deciding on your fish tank, you need to understand what type of fish you want to keep and what size tank that they require. So if you're getting African cichlids, like this is an African cichlid grow out tank, they're in a 55, it's fine because they're small. They will need to move to at least the 75 gallon when they get bigger because a full-grown peacock cichlid hits 6 or 7 inches. If you're keeping something like guppies, you can get away with a much smaller tank. 10 gallon will work fine for a pair, 20 gallon if you want to breed a bunch of them up. So consider your tank size, consider the fish that you're going to put in it, do your research ahead of time. That's probably the #1 tip I can give anybody that is looking to keep fish or is new at keeping fish. Do your research first. Don't just run out and buy fish and figure it out later. Some people do that, some people get away with it, but it's not good fish keeping, it's not good for your fish, and it's not a good habit to get into. So understand the type of fish you're keeping, the type of water it needs, whether it needs basic or acidic water. Like, for example, African cichlids like very basic water, so pH around 8, if not even a little higher, like 8.4. Because the lakes where they're found in the wild have a very high pH, whereas something like discus in the wild have a very low pH, something around like 6 to 6.4. Now, most aquarium bred fish are very versatile in the pH that they can live in, and most can adapt to your tap water, provided it's not something like 4 or 12. Alright, so keep that in mind as well. You know, the type of water you have may influence the type of fish you keep. I'm lucky in that my tap water comes out at about 7.4, so I don't have to worry. I can keep 99% of aquarium fish without a problem because my pH is fairly close to neutral, a little bit on the harder side, which lends itself to African cichlids and live-bearing fish. Now, I said substrate before, so there are generally 3 types of substrate that most people are going to choose from. You're going to have sand, gravel, or a bare bottom tank. You can also do soil for a heavily planted tank, but we're not going to go over that because we're just covering the basics of fish keeping. So in this tank I have a mixture of sand and gravel. It works well for me, it lets me grow plants, I like the way it looks, it's not too bad to clean, but generally speaking a tank that is just gravel is going to be a little bit easier to clean and a little bit easier to vacuum. You don't have to worry about stirring it up as much, but it is going to trap more waste, it's going to trap more food, so that's something to bear in mind as well. My personal preference is sand. Now, I don't have many bare bottom tanks anymore, but a bare bottom tank is exactly what it sounds like. No substrate on the bottom, absolutely nothing there. It's very easy to clean, but it doesn't look great. You know, it's good for like a sterile setup for like a quarantine tank, but you know, unless you're running so many fish tanks that you can't keep up on the maintenance, I would always put some kind of substrate, and your fish are generally going to appreciate it as well. Your substrate may also depend on your fish. Something like a corridor catfish is going to appreciate a sandy substrate. Some of the cichlids that like to are substrate spawners are going to appreciate a sandy substrate. Gravel's pretty basic, and I can't think off the top of my head of anything that prefers it over sand. But some fish, it doesn't really make much of a difference, like guppies. Guppies don't really care one way or the other what your substrate is. As long as you're providing good water quality and lots of plants like I have in here, they're going to do just fine. So then you have your filtration. So I very recently made a video on what I think the best type of filtration is. I will put a link to that video down in the description below so we can get into it a little bit more. Make sure you have enough filtration for your tank. Most commercially sold fish tank filters have a gallon rating on them, but bear in mind the type of fish that you keep as well. Some fish like a faster flow, some like a lower flow. For lower flow fish, or if you're going to be breeding fish, I love sponge filters. They don't suck up fry, you know, it just creates some bubbles that break on the top of the surface of the water, and you don't run into too many problems. Another common, very easy one is a hang-on back filter, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It hangs on the back, water goes up the intake tube, through the media, which in this case is just filter floss because I'm only using it to pull particulate and clean the water, and it comes back out. But there's a lot of different media that you can use. Volcano rock, K1 media, bio balls, all that stuff you can stick in a hang-on back filter. But very basic, a sponge filter will suffice for smaller tanks, and if you get into the bigger tanks, you probably need many of them. Like I have 3 very large sponge filters on my 125 over there. But yeah, a good filter is very important. Water quality is very important. Keep clean water. Also, do your water changes. Man, I've seen so many people that are like, oh, I don't do water changes, I just top off. Okay, that's going to work for so long, and then your tank's going to crash because you're going to have an ammonium nitrate spike and you're going to lose your whole tank. Once weekly or bi-weekly water changes are the way to go. I mean, do a 25% water change every other week, and you'll be fine. Your fish will appreciate it, your water will be clearer, your tank will be cleaner, everybody will be happier. Please stick to your water changes. Please do them. It's okay if you're late a day or early a day. Just do your water changes. It's important. Alright, the next thing I want to talk about is a hospital tank or a quarantine tank. So this Oscar is in here because the Mayan cichlid beat the crap out of him. He's pretty tore up, so he's going to sit in here by himself with no decor in the tank, so he has time to heal up. I've already treated him with an antifungal, an antibacterial, and aquarium salt. That should help him heal up, and he'll be good to go back in the tank. Now, if you only have one tank and you already have a couple fish in there, you want to go out to PetSmart, Petco, your local fish store, and buy new fish, you need to quarantine your fish. Otherwise, you run the risk of spreading disease from the fish you're adding into your already established and healthy tank. So if you have a 20-gallon, get a 10-gallon tank, set it up next to it. You don't have to keep anything in it. It's okay if it's not cycled. You're not going to keep the fish in there forever. 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the fish, depending on if they're sick, and you're going to be doing lots of water changes on that tank anyway. Just keep a tank around, keep it heated, put new fish in there. You won't regret it. You're going to regret adding brand new fish to your tank and infecting your whole tank with ick. I've seen experienced fish keepers do it. I've seen new fish keepers do it. I've seen people that sell fish and breed fish do it. Get a quarantine tank or a hospital tank, quarantine your fish, or give them a place to go if they get beat up or tore up, and heal in peace. Quarantine your fish. It will never hurt you, and it will only ever help you. Alright, so we've talked about tank size, we've talked about doing research for your fish, we've talked about substrate, filtration, we've talked about water quality, we've talked about pH, and those are the things that generally encompass the basics of fish keeping, and these are the things that you want to focus on, especially if you're a new fish keeper, if you want to keep your fish healthy. There's a lot more that goes into fish keeping. I mean, you can get into all the crazy water chemistry and the husbandry of fish and stuff like that. But as a general rule, the stuff that I went over in this video is going to be a good foundation for you to build off of. Do your water changes, quarantine your fish, make sure that you have the right water quality for the fish, make sure that you have the right tank size for the fish. These are all things that will lead you to nothing but success in the hobby. You can get away with breaking these rules or these guidelines and it'll be okay. I myself do it sometimes, but I don't encourage it. I had the basics and the foundation of a good fish keeper before I started pushing the limits to what I can do and to what I can really kind of get away with when it comes to keeping fish. Now, I also want to say, to everybody that's subscribed to the channel, thank you guys so much. The support has been unreal, and it really makes me want to keep going. But if you have any other questions, if there's anything else I didn't answer in this video, make sure you check out my other videos, because I've done more in-depth videos on most all of this stuff, including how to set up a quarantine tank, the best filtration, the best substrate, a lot, food, everything. I have a ton of videos on this channel, so if you have any further questions or you want further information on some of these things, scroll through the videos on the channel. I'm sure you can find something that will answer what you need to answer, right? The nitrogen cycle is also very important, but that is a whole video in and of itself. I also have a video on how to cycle a tank. I will put that down in the description because that's actually very important, and I want anybody that's new to fish keeping to fully understand what the nitrogen cycle is, how it works, and how to properly cycle your fish tank. Alright guys, that is it from me today. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, have a great day.